From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Growing things old school.
The Carolina Gold rice is one of the first varieties brought over into North Carolina and traded with pirates. That's how that seed got here.
One farmer is learning what it takes to grow heirloom grains. Focus on the sun. See what parts of rural America are hot for solar development. As crop conditions continue to hold mostly steady.
You still have to go mostly outside the Midwest to find the lower rated corn.
And there's even better news about the nation's cotton crop right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. Pioneer brand corn has game-winning statistics like a 10 bushel per acre yield advantage. Pioneer brand corn. Your best year starts here.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Roy. Clinton is on vacation. It appears recent rains are helping crop conditions in the Midwest. USDA releasing its latest crop progress numbers. It rates 67% of the corn crop in good to excellent condition. Now that's down 1% from the previous week, but much higher than last year at this time when 57% of the crop was rated good to excellent. As for soybeans, no change over the past week, still 68% rated good to excellent. Last year, only 54% of the soybeans were in that category.
You still have to go mostly outside the Midwest to find the lower rated corn. Of course, North Carolina, even with recent rainfall, coming in at 66%, very poor to poor. It's an early crop in the Southeast, and it's pretty tough to benefit from late July and beyond rainfall.
Earlier in the cotton growing season, there was concern about the cotton crop amid heat and drought conditions. But that crop has seen a major improvement in conditions.
This week, we are looking at 53% of U.S. cotton rated good to excellent, up from 45% a week ago, an 8-point increase. At this point now, just 18% very poor to poor. That is a big drop from last week's 23%.
Last year at this time, the cotton crop was rated only 46% good to excellent. And winter wheat harvest continuing to move north with 76% of the crop now cut. That's 4% ahead of the 5-year average. Harvest is wrapped up in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Ohio. Happening right now, multiple western states are currently under an air quality alert due to wildfires. The National Interagency Fire Center says about 70 wildfires are burning across the country, and those wildfires have burned over 1 million acres. 9 states are currently reporting large active wildfires, with 20 in Oregon and 12 in California. Evacuation orders are in place for impacted areas in Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming are all currently under air quality alerts. Along with seeing air quality issues, some producers in Colorado are assessing the damage after getting hit with hail. Now, this is in the northern part of the state. Root Shoot Malting posting these pictures on Facebook. The farm reports the storm may have caused up to $500,000 in damage. Owners say they lost 120 acres of distiller's corn, 12 acres of blue corn, 300 acres of alfalfa, and 70 acres of Genie barley. They say over 512 acres, 5 months of field work, and countless hours of irrigation, all gone in only about 30 minutes of hail. However, they believe they'll be able to nurse the alfalfa back to health. It could be a stormy couple of days in the deep south and in the Great Lakes. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht has the latest.
Yeah, we're working with a shallow cold front moving across the Great Lakes and then eventually trying to get down to the southeast. But kind of show you that severe weather potential. So we're going to be looking at brief downpours, strong winds, and also some small hail anywhere you see kind of this beige color. And that includes parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and even into New York for our Wednesday. As that front pushes through, we're going to see slightly lower humidity. So the severe weather chances aren't all that high on Thursday. That could change where that boundary is located right along it. If we get enough energy at the surface and those temperatures start to surge, may get an outline of some stronger, possibly severe thunderstorms back down here to the south coming in on Thursday. But right now, things are looking relatively quiet from a national standpoint on Thursday in regards to the severe weather risk. And this, yeah, right there. This is just spectacular. Check out the latest creation by Mindy's Murals. This is in Kansas, a 108-foot tall mural on the side of a grain elevator. Now, that is just beautiful. And Joe of Nature Landscape Photography checking it out with his drone. You can see more of this video on the AgDay Facebook page. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
A U.S. district judge in Boston is upholding most of Massachusetts' so-called Q3 pork law. The law bans the sale of pork from animals that don't meet certain minimum space requirements for confinement. But the judge dismissed arguments from Missouri-based pork producer Triumph Foods and out-of-state hog farmers that the Federal Meat Inspection Act preempted the state law. The plaintiffs claiming the state law created additional and different requirements for pig handling than the federal law provided. But the judge determined the state law only bans the sale of non-compliant pork meat and does not regulate slaughterhouse operations directly. And while the majority of the law was upheld, the judge did rule a specific provision was unconstitutional, taking issue with the provision that only certain processors directly sell non-compliant pork to consumers. The law was enacted through a 2016 ballot initiative with 77% of state voters supporting. Corn and soybeans kept Monday's momentum going on Tuesday. I'll have more on that, along with gains in the cattle market coming up. And later, we look in on some old school growing as one farmer in Arkansas tries his hand at heirloom grains in the country. We've been talking a lot about the growth of solar leasing on farmland, with leasing rate offers reported anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 per acre per year. USDA's Economic Research Service taking a look at the numbers. It says more than 70% of the large-scale commercial solar development in rural areas is happening on ag land. It reported more than 3,100 solar projects were installed between 2012 and 2020, with the largest share on cropland in dark green, about 43%. Another 28% in the lighter green were installed on pasture rangeland. The Midwest seeing the highest share of these installations on cropland at 70%. In the West and Plains, installations happened mostly on pasture and range. Well, row crops and cattle extended gains on Tuesday. Alan Brugler with Brugler Marketing is back with us. Alan, let's talk about the row crops first. We're putting in some weather premium. How much weather premium do you think we need to put in those markets?
Well, if you look at the longer term forecast here, the northern half of the Corn Belt's getting shorted on moisture here. You got quite a bit coming up from Mexico and Texas into the southern part of the belt, but the half-inch accumulations for 7 days in parts of the Corn Belt when it's 90 or 95 degree daily highs is going to stress the crop a little bit. So I think you can put a little more weather premium in here. And probably need to. And given that we've got a very large short position in the fund traders, maybe that a little justification for them taking some money off the table.
Yeah, if it stays hot and dry and we get above some of these key moving averages, how far could we run the corn and soybean market with what you just said about the funds being so short?
You're short 300-some thousand contracts. If you got out of all of that, you could run 50 or 60 cents. But you've got retracements as your first objective there, 20 cents higher or so on old crop and new crop corn. Right now, we're just trying to get through the Bollinger Midline, the 18-day moving average, 20-day moving average, those types of things. We've got some nice bottoming action, but we really haven't broken out of that trading range yet to where we can feel comfortable that we've got a buy signal here.
Cattle market also extending gains. I know the futures are at a discount to the cash, but is that market feeling like this cash is going to hold together?
I think it's a case of as long as the cash is holding together, the board's at too big of a discount, and on days where you don't have a lot else to trade, you kind of move back towards the cash. And the cattle on feed report on Friday was moderately friendly. We really didn't break off of it. We have some decent chart support, rising regression channels and so forth on the cattle. So I'm comfortable with a little bit of a rally here.
No doubt. Thanks for joining us, Ellen Brugler with Brugler Marketing. We'll have more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rourke on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
To talk to Alan about his ag market professional services, call Brugler Marketing and Management at 402-697-3623 or visit his website, www.bruglermarketing.com.
Temperature outlook, end of July into early August, a lot of red on this map as we're looking at another ridge of high pressure to kind of dominate the pattern between the 30th and August 5th. And as I mentioned before, on this legend, this is the chance or the possibility of above normal temperatures for those locations. This does not mean it's going to be well above average. This is a likelihood of above average temperatures in those locations. So confidence is really high that it is going to be above average into the Dakotas, also in Colorado, but also into the Great Lakes and to the south and to the southeast. Also the upstate New York area as well. Basically this entire map, let me get out of the way, is above normal, or at least the possibility is there for above normal temperatures. Looking at your Wednesday. So two things that we're eyeing. We're still having to deal with heavy downpours, almost tropical-like downpours into Texas, Louisiana, and back up here in North Carolina. Watch right here. A weak front is going to push from the north to the south, and the farther that boundary gets, the lower the humidity will be behind it. So by 2 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, or early in the morning on Thursday, you see a pocket of lower humidity and quieter conditions back up into parts of Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. You come back out here to the west and things change around fairly quickly into more of the ridge of high pressure or the heat into the Dakotas and back down here towards the Four Corner states. Now again, this is Thursday at 2 a.m. As I advance this through, that boundary is going to once again lay up stationary, kind of wash itself out as that main energy moves off to the north into the northeast. That's also going to pull in some moisture off the Atlantic in locations like East North Carolina, South Carolina, and back down here to the south and to the east. So it's a pattern that we really haven't been able to shake the last 7 to 10 days, which is the rainfall back up here towards Texas, Louisiana, working across the Gulf Coast states, and then once again back down towards Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Otherwise, that lower humidity is going to lead to lower rain chances through the Great Lakes, but also back out here to the north and to the northwest. Again, there's Saturday at 7 p.m. Jet stream kind of reinforces that. You got that weak system moving to the northeast, and then a big old ridge trying to develop as early as Friday, and especially into the weekend. Spencer, Iowa, partly cloudy, high around 83 degrees. Jamestown, North Dakota, partly cloudy, high of 85 degrees. Bon Air, Virginia, 88 degrees, mostly cloudy, low of 72 degrees.
Quite a scene in Sumter, South Carolina, as deputies responded to an unusual call. A bull had wandered into someone's yard. Officers say when they arrived, the bull stopped near the passenger window of a patrol car, and a deputy introduced himself and told it that it had to go home. With some coaxing and calling, the bull named Rowdy followed them down the road and made his way back to his pasture. Rowdy's owner said they have cared for the bull since he was young. The sheriff's office adding he's almost like a pet, but saying he is still a bull. Still ahead, how some people with a meat allergy are able to enjoy pork again. And later, you've heard of heirloom tomatoes, but one farmer in Arkansas is getting into the business of growing heirloom grapes. See how he does it in the country. Canada is a top 5 destination for both U.S. beef and pork, but the U.S. Meat Export Federation says those shipments are sometimes slowed by regulatory issues. Specifically, it says the recent transition to the Public Health Information System export module was supposed to reduce paperwork and simplify the export process. But one USMEF official says some documentation obstacles remain.
Over the last couple of years, we've started to incorporate the PHIS export component, and the purpose was to improve and really shorten some of those interactions at the border to clear product more quickly in both directions. So PHIS was intended to reduce paperwork and human error. And when a system goes online, all of the paperwork, like letterhead certificates or testing requirements, go into that PHIS system, which allows the inspectors both on the USDA side and in Canada just see, sign, and process more quickly. We're finding that our electronic system is requiring paperwork, and that was not the intention. So we're working with Canada to streamline the documentation process.
USMEF says it also is working with industry partners such as the American Meat Institute to eliminate other barriers for U.S. meat shipments to Canada. People who become allergic to meat after a tick bite are learning they can still eat pork as long as that pork comes from genetically modified pigs. The Associated Press reports, however, you won't find this pork in stores right now. A company called Revacor breeds genetically modified pigs and uses them for organ transplant research. It only keeps a small supply of pork meat and shares it for free with patients who have the allergy called alpha-gal syndrome. And while pig organ transplants are still experimental, the company's Gal-Safe pigs received Food and Drug Administration approval in 2020. The FDA determining there was no detectable level of alpha-gal across the multiple generations of the pigs. The company tells AP it now is getting thank you letters from people with the allergy, detailing the joy of eating bacon again. Coming up, we're going back in time. See what it takes or doesn't take to grow heirloom grains in the country. A farm in Augusta, Arkansas is partnering with one grain company to grow small acres of several heirloom crops. The Arkansas Farm Bureau visits with People's Organic Farms for a look at what it takes to grow some of these lesser-known crops.
We were introduced to Anderson Mills, which is a heirloom operation, and they asked us to start planting some of their varieties of heirloom. All they do are heirloom varieties. So we did Carolina Gold rice last year, and then he approached us with some other varieties of turkey wheat that we're standing in today, and chickpeas and some other crops that he wanted grown. 10 to 20 acres on all the varieties of rouge peas, the flint white corn. Heirloom is basically the first of everything. It's the original variety. So this is turkey wheat. It's about 400 years old. It was brought into the Americas by some Amish. The Carolina Gold rice is one of the first varieties brought over into North Carolina and traded with pirates. That's how that seed got here. But this is where all of our genetics started from. You know, these varieties, they've bred them over hundreds of years to get better yields and to have better resilience as far as weather goes.
Well, the history in it is worth working for. It might not be the easiest wheat. We've had our ups and downs for sure with the weather, it being so tall, all that. And I do believe we've experienced more of that than other normal wheat varieties for this area because we have other wheats close and theirs weren't doing what ours was doing. So, you know, there's more of a struggle with it, but to be able to save and grow an old heirloom, it's unique and it's neat.
Well, none of the heirloom varieties so far that we have planted respond to fertilizer. And that makes sense because they didn't have it when these crops were growing in the past. So they don't respond well to fertilizer. They are resilient as far as weather seems to go. This has been blowed down multiple times and has basically stood back up. So there's some characteristics here that I think that it may perform better than what our new varieties do. You know, I think there's an importance to heirloom. Everybody, you know what, the only thing I ever heard about heirloom was heirloom tomatoes. Everybody talks about heirloom tomatoes, but nobody talks about the heirloom varieties that we developed, the seed that we're using today, and I think there's knowledge to be learned from continuing to plant some of these, or all of these heirloom varieties, and to see the differences. As far as Anderson Mills goes, they feel like that they get a better quality and a better flavor in the products that they're making using heirloom. Well, I think the biggest thing everybody should know if you're going to plant heirloom varieties, don't expect big yields. This is not going to produce what wheat that you can go to your co-op and purchase is going to produce. Same with any other variety of heirloom that we've planted so far. There's a premium for that product. So we do okay with it because of the premium, but we don't expect big yields out of it. The quantity, I think, is what we've bred, and I think that's what Glenn sees as a loss in the heirloom is yeah, we didn't have the quantity, but maybe we had better quality.
And our thanks to the Arkansas Farm Bureau for sharing that story with us. Well, that's all the time we have for this morning. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Michelle Rook. Have yourself a great day.